Welcome to Alex and Annie, the real women of vacation rentals. With more than 35 years combined industry experience, Alex Husner and Annie Holcomb have teamed up to connect the dots between inspiration and opportunity, seeking to find the one story, idea, strategy, or decision that led to their guests' big aha moment. Join them as they highlight the real stories behind the people and brands that have built vacation rentals into the $100 billion industry it is today. And now, it's time to get real and have some fun with your hosts, Alex and Annie.
Welcome to Alex and Annie, the real women of vacation rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we're here today with Thomas Schaper, who is co-founder and head of product for DACK. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, we've been talking to you and some of your other teammates for several months now. So very excited to have you on and hear more about what you guys have going on and how your growth has just been just crazy. I feel like the last few months, I just keep hearing about DACK and so many people are starting to use your service and it's just really exciting. But before we get started, can you give our audience a little bit of your background and involvement within the vacation rental and tourism space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started DACK about 3 or 4 years ago. So it was late 2019, early 2020. We actually came from outside the vacation rental space. Damon and I were both really avid travelers and love traveling. Well, I love traveling. Damon traveled a lot for work because he was an exec at eBay previous to working with DACK. And so both of us were kind of talking one day and both had the same frustrations with guest experience and travel. We wanted to just improve guest experience in general and had this, great idea for an app. And then I think three months after we started talking was March 2020. So things changed up a little bit. But we kind of continue to pursue building out a product and something, meaningful for guests and meaningful for operators. And actually that still resonated with investors in 2020. And they realized that everything was going to go contactless anyways and touchless, right? So we actually got funding in October of 2020. I remember going to 2 in-person VC meetings. Everything else was virtual, which was really weird.
Yeah.
Launched the product in January of 2021, and I've been growing it ever since. But yeah, it's been crazy just, growing a team virtually, growing the product virtually, fundraising virtually. Everything's been virtual, but it's been really an exciting journey for sure.
So when you guys decided that you were going to do this, did you have a strong technology background to be able to build this from? And if so, what was your technology background? You said you kind of dabbled in vacation rentals, came into this space because you like to travel, but what was it about your technology background, if you had it, that brought you to build what you've built?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Damon's side, Damon had built a company called GSI Commerce that today you would know as Fanatics, which was basically the e-commerce engine that powered Ralph Lauren, Dick's Sporting Goods, Estee Lauder, all these big companies, MLB and NBA. And then that company had sold to eBay. And then he was head of business development at eBay. So his background was very much tech for companies that they couldn't build themselves, right? Plus he had this good experience with marketplace at eBay. I came from product and mobile development. The company I was working at before DACK was actually called Galavant's here. It was a tech startup in Las Vegas. And it was all about tours and activities booking in Vegas. So if you didn't know what to do, we could come up with an entire itinerary for you. It was all digital. And right before I met Damon, we were working on a product called Table Party, which is kind of booking last minute VIP tables at the clubs, nightclubs and day clubs and all that.
Right.
And then it was kind of getting some traction and some interest, but then we kind of I met Damon. I said, this is way cool. I want to do this with Damon. And that's how we kind of got started there.
It's very robust. I think that was kind of the first thing that I thought of when we did a demo of DACK several months ago. And even just now looking at your site again, it's dackinc.com. If anybody wants to go check it out, there is a lot that this does. This is not just an app, right? I mean, there's a lot in here. So just looking at some of the solutions that are offered, I mean, the guest verification, the digital access and smart locks, is that products that you have white labeled into yours, or is that tech that you have built?
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that original story of like, as travelers, we weren't operators. We were, outsiders kind of coming into the space, and we just kind of saw this gap in technology. Right. And so, everything, and I was on a guest webinar the other day, kind of talking about the same thing, but everything in your stay journey, really up until you get to your accommodation, is digital, right? So you book your experience on Airbnb or Vrbo, right? You can get through the airport with the Delta Airlines app. I just lost my debit card the other day, and I forgot that I had a replacement for 3 weeks because I was using Apple Pay everywhere with my phone, right? So it's just kind of how digital everything is. And then we were just talking about staying at Verma at Little Caesars.
Eat a lot of pizza at the
Sorry, Caesars.
That's funny.
At Caesar's Palace, but so you had this whole digital experience, and then you get to Caesar's Palace and you wait in an hour and a half line to check in.
Right.
Right. So
we're mind-boggling.
Just crazy. Yeah. And they don't even offer you a drink or anything. It's just nuts.
Right.
Make it bearable. But so then you have, so like our initial vision was everything in the guest experience should be digital, and it should be mobile first. And so that was kind of why it's such a robust platform, because that was the original like Figma that we built out together before we even started writing one line of code. Was, I'm a guest, I land at the airport, how can this be completely seamless and digital for me? And that included everything from check-in to check-out, access, all of that. It's pretty crazy how much that's evolved and how many partners there are out there for us to use now. So yeah, we do partner with a couple of companies for certain components of the product, right? Like Superhug's a really big partner for us for guest verification, but we want to make everything built into the app, right? So we don't want you to like have to pop over to Superhug to get verified, then come back to the app. Everything's in the app. You wouldn't know that you're using Superhug when you're doing it. It's all built in completely in the same interface on the app.
What I loved about it when we did the demo, because they sent me a reservation, like a dummy reservation, and just like acted like it was mine. And I thought was really neat. And I think such a great tool is that you can do all these upsells within it. So if somebody wants to, again, you have the ability to, I don't remember if it was like through Open Table, like you can book a reservation on a restaurant nearby, spas, in ski markets, you can do all of the different things that you need to do. So like for you, how is that putting all that together? Because again, every market is a little different. So there's there are some companies that specialize in attractions and activity tickets for like tons of markets. So it's easier. But when you go granular into some of these markets that maybe don't have a national brand behind some of this stuff, how do you guys attack that? Because again, that's a really big opportunity for property managers to be able to do upselling and really make a more robust guest experience, outside of the app. But how do you navigate that?
No, absolutely. It's a great question. And I think the power of the upsells in the app is that you're doing all these other things, but we really do all those other things to get you to the spot where you'll do an upsell, right? So you do the verification, you do the access, you do everything as a guest, but I'm using the app throughout my stay, especially if the operator has integrated access. I'm using the app. I think our average is around 12 times per stay. So I'm opening it, I'm looking at it, and we keep those upsells like really front and center everywhere you go. And then having the operator, every operator we talk to, we're like, you can do upsells with DACK, you can make more money with DACK, try the upsells. And they're like, great, but I don't want to do any more work. Right?
Yeah.
That is like resounding across the board. No one has the bandwidth for it really. And so I kind of put it into 3 buckets of upsells that we do. We have our digital upsells, I would call them, like early check-in, where you'll request early check-in. Operator can automatically approve it depending on occupancy. The lock will automatically be updated. So the operator is really not doing any extra work there to capture that revenue. And then we have third-party vendors that we use, like Viator, that automatically plug in local tours and activities. That's really easy to onboard, and you make a commission off each one of those. But I think what's really exciting that we're seeing right now is operators can have a vendor approve and decline upsells and get the guest details and facilitate that directly. And that's really not a lot of work in your local area to go. And so we're kind of using the operators to go find vendors in their local area. And it's not that hard. There's always a ski rental guy or a surf guide. There's always a personal chef or a masseuse that is looking for more work. In the gig economy, there's always looking for more work there. And so what they can do is they can plug that vendor in. They get the request. Operator has nothing to do with it, and they're just making more money, as they sleep. So it's a win-win for everybody there. And I think what's really critical about that. Sorry, I'm rambling here, but I'm probably the most excited about that part of the app. Is I think what's really critical there is, showing local businesses that these people are coming from short-term rentals. I think is so crucial because as you're going up against legislation and regulations and all this, show them that, hey, we're a driver of the local economy. We're not detracting at all.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Do you guys have, I think one of the things that Alex and I have debated is the viability of getting people to download an app versus like just texting them something. I've experienced it both ways. And I have to say, like, I didn't mind downloading an app. I mean, it gave me a really great insight on how things work. But I know that's probably in some markets maybe harder than others. So how do you guys go about engaging someone that might say, like, we've tried apps before, like our guest isn't going to download that? Like, what's your approach?
Yeah. So now we actually do have a web version and a native version of the same app.
Oh, good.
It was kind of that. So what's really interesting is our numbers were tremendous, like for downloading the app, especially for communication, but no one really believed us. But we were seeing, 80, 85% on average across the board, and some operators even up into like 120, 140% because they'll get additional guests to register per stay.
Sure.
And it's all about how you communicate it, right? So you don't want to just say, you have to download this app or you need to download this app. It's, hey, to explore the local area, to learn more about your property, to purchase early check-in, download the app or, click on this link, and making it exciting and enticing and the right verbiage is so key. And I think what we really see, which is interesting, is particularly in this vacation rental space, is guests really do want to go look at that property before they stay there. So they want to see the pictures. They want to see what's available. They want to see the upsells. It might be the one vacation they take a year, right? They saved up all year for this house in Hilton Head, and they're going to want to explore it. And so we actually see guests download the app. When they do download it, 31 days out on average, right? So they're really, really curious. And then you have this really engaged audience kind of the entire time before check-in.
Now, do you have the ability to share the property with family and friends from the app also?
Yeah, which is really, it's great for a lot of reasons, right? Is one, you get all that data as an operator, right? So you get the additional guests, contact info as well. You can remarket to them for direct bookings as well. You can see who's kind of part of that party and make sure like, who's coming in and out of the unit as well. And then it also kind of helps curb questions from anyone in the party, right? So for the primary guest, they can say, here's the Wi-Fi info, here's how to turn on the hot tub to the rest of their friends and family. And, again, in the space, you do see, we've had some record, additional guests groups. I think we've had as much as 10 or 12 from one of our operators in Tennessee. So it's just really interesting to see that many people as part of one group. And there's some cool stuff in the roadmap that we want to do with that additional guests, kind of family, maybe split the bill in an upsell, that sort of thing.
And are you collecting their email addresses too of those guests? And does that go back to the property manager? Yeah.
Yeah, you get everything unmasked. You can export it from our portal, so you get all the unmasked email, the phone number, everything. Awesome. So you can kind of circumvent the OTA the next time around.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of people, or not a lot, but a good amount that are attacking kind of the same problem, but just from a different way. So we just had StayFi on the show recently, Arthur, and I mean, they're doing it in order to get more guest emails, you have to put your email in to get the Wi-Fi password, just like if you were at an airport. But you're kind of doing the same thing. I mean, if they have to have the app for other reasons, but at that point, you already have their contact information too. So I think that there's a lot of different ways to do it, but that's definitely a problem that as an operator, we're all trying to solve, because if you just have one person's email address and it's a 8-bedroom home, we were talking to somebody recently that just said, they were in an 8-bedroom home and only one person got the checkout email about where you bring trash and where you do things. And they said that person left early and they did everything wrong and they got fined, but they're like, we never even knew what we were supposed to do. Right. And the one guest that left didn't forward us the email. So I think that the more you can get everybody involved in those details, that just makes for a better stay for your entire party. I mean, if you don't have people that are just not sure what they need to do. So there's a lot of value to it.
No, and I think that again comes back to the verbiage, right? Is so we do have operators that have really high engagement with the additional guests, right? And that, you can say, hey, rather than answer all the questions for the rest of your party, have them download the app as well. They'll know, what the Wi-Fi is, and they won't, text you consistently throughout the stay. And I think trying to organize a big group like that is probably I wouldn't want.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Do you guys, so collecting the data, and you can obviously hold that for yourself. Are you working with anybody that is in multiple markets so they can retarget? Like, again, if they're like, I'm just thinking of somebody like Steve Milo, who's got, Hawaii and Florida and, maybe some mountain properties, so he can just remarket those for the seasonality of each one of those markets.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's rebooking links like all throughout the app, and like we keep adding more just to like really try to drive those direct bookings. And then you can always go back through your past stays with DACK and book again at that same unit or a different unit offered by that host. And then there's some cool stuff you can do with the communication sequences after the guest checks out. So you can say, hey, book again with us directly. Here's a coupon, that sort of stuff. You can also have them, there's like a coupon release mechanism. So you can create a discount in your PMS, which almost every PMS that has a direct booking engine has, right? So you create that coupon code, and then you put it into a short code on DACK, and then you say, hey, sign up for DACK, download our app, and then you'll get 15% off the next day. You capture that guest info, then you release the coupon code to them, and then they try to book again with you directly that way as well. So we're trying to hit it from pretty much any side possible. And we definitely have seen it, which is really cool, is the same guest showing up in our data for the same operator booking again, using the app again is really exciting to see.
Is the app branded for the property, or is it branded as DACK?
Yeah, so the native app is DACK. It's the DACK app. And then, the web version, we can obviously a little bit more easily, white label. I think for most of the operators we work with, right, it just wouldn't make sense for them to have a native app if you have 30 doors, 50 doors, even 100 doors, right? We have had some conversations with the guys with, 800 to 1,000 doors, right? That really then for them, it's almost like a build or buy, right? Like they're thinking about building a native app themselves, why not use our technology and have a native app that we've already built, right? But yeah, for most everybody, it's the DACK app, and I think it makes the most sense. It's I kind of see it as like a clear for hospitality, right? Like you use it everywhere, you download it once, you register once, and you can check in anywhere, that sort of thing, right?
Does it have functionality where if somebody's already been screened at one company, that if they go to stay with another company, they don't have to go through that process again?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it there. Okay. Yeah, so that other operator would get that guest info as well. And all that would happen for that guest if they still had the app on their phone, would they just get a push notification that says, your stay at, unit 208 is confirmed. You can go check in there as well.
Right. Yeah.
Also, yeah.
So naturally, the next question would be then, are you going to do an OTA that guests can search for other properties that use your app?
Yeah. If you download the app today, you can search most of the properties that actually work with us. And that's definitely a direction that we're exploring for sure, because we do have this great inventory of operators. We were debating it at first on, what would this look like and what would that OTA look like? And then we kind of realized that, hey, wait a second, like most of our operators really are great operators, right? Like if they're willing to work on guest experience and take it to the next level, they're probably already a super host or a great host. So we actually have like a really great inventory of homes available there.
That's awesome. I have to ask this question because I always ask these weird questions. DACK, the name, like it doesn't roll off the tongue and speak to what this is.
Yeah.
So like, if someone said you need to download this DACK app, I'd be like, I don't know. I was thinking like maintenance, or couldn't even like wrap my head around like that's what this would be. So how did you guys come up with the name? And do you see yourself like changing it to modify it to more speak the language, or kind of be more identifiable?
Yeah. I think rebranding is always out there, right? And we talk to marketing experts, right? Like Alex or yourself, right? So, but no, I think what happened is it was kind of just a placeholder. It was something like digital access and code and key or something like that, and we had it. And we actually were working with a consulting firm in Venice, is actually one of the investors. It's the guy that came up with the Kia hamsters. So he's pretty fun.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, we were talking about changing it before we even launched. And he's like, you know what, this is kind of quirky. You remember it. It's 4 letters. There's no competitive search phrases for it.
Yeah.
You can find it easily on Google, stuff like that. So we're like, he's like, actually, I kind of recommend keeping it for now and just rolling with it. And so we're like, okay, we'll stick with it. And away we went. So is out there now.
No looking back, right?
Yeah. Well, you guys have done a great job, I think, with overall the branding, with the design of it. I mean, you have a very different look to your demonstration at the trade shows. Yeah, to the app. I mean, it's very clean, but I like the black and the white, and that it can be customized to the operator. So that was kind of the idea with the branding. You asked about that earlier. Is what we really wanted is like DACK, the brand, not to be any particular like color or super memorable or anything like that. Like we're basically the slate that you build your brand on, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You fill it in. So basically any logo, any pictures, anything looks good in that app because it's black and white, right? There's no contrasting colors or anything like that. And that was kind of the idea with even what we built out on the site. Is the idea is it kind of feels like blueprints. It's kind of like where you build your technology from, tell your story from our platform, right? And we try to stay as neutral as possible in that way.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that. I mean, that definitely, for what you guys have, that's going to solidify the guest experience in using that and remembering DACK as well as the operator, much more so than if it was completely customizable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting depending on the operator, right? Is, we have like the guy with 20 doors, and we love all our operators, but the guy with 20 doors, we'll get support tickets where the guest doesn't really know even what channel they booked on, right? So it's kind of weird because they're using the DACK app. They don't really know the name of the host they're staying with. They don't know the channel they booked on. Right? If they do with someone like Casa Go or Grand Welcome or Homes and Villas, right? They're going to know where they originally booked at.
Right.
A lot of these guys they don't. So it really doesn't even matter at that point. It's just download this app or click on this link and follow the instructions out, and they kind of go with it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say is the ideal type of client that you're going after? Is it somebody that's on a PMS that just they don't already they don't offer an app, or they don't offer a good guest experience in an app. Because I think that's kind of what I've seen more, is that everybody has some version of an app, most of the software companies, but very few of them are actually anywhere. I don't think any of them actually are anywhere near this good if it's native to that PMS, right? But tell us about like what the reason somebody normally comes to you that is the right customer.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have a variety of customers. I think what's so interesting about the space, what's been a huge learning for me and Damon, is how different each operator is, right? You have high-end luxury operators, you have everything in between, and they all kind of find a reason to use the platform, and it's never any one as like specific reason, which is but they all end up there somehow. But what's really interesting is I think with the first few PMSs we integrated with, one of them was Streamline and one of them was Escapia, and both of them have pretty decent apps. But you realize from a technology standpoint, there's so much I want to do with our tech, and just on just this guest experience app alone. And it's, the broader companies are talking about like all in one and, incorporating everything into the PMS, this sort of thing. And it's like, it's just not, I don't see how it's even feasible from a technology standpoint, knowing how much I have on my roadmap and how much I want to develop with the team that we have. And they're working on trust accounting and inboxes and multi-calendar and channel integrations and all this stuff, right? And then for a lot of these guys, the app, the customers are telling us like the guest experience app has pretty much been frozen for the last 5 years, like no new features, no new change in the feel and all that. And I think the look and the feel does matter, right? I think improving it, making it sure it's modern, updating it regularly is pretty important as you go as a company. I think it's interesting who we sell to, and the fact that these guys have a free app in their PMS, but they're still willing to pay for DACK just because they see so much new features and new stuff coming out with it is pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, Simon Lehman, a good friend of ours, of the show and ours, he has been doing a lot of posts and kind of studies about like the technology within the space and like what exists. And he had a chart out, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, that showed where the technology sits in the verticals within vacation rentals, and guest experience, or what's deemed guest experience, was like the largest segment. And if you had asked me, I would have said PMSs, because he had done a post not too long before that about PMSs. And I was blown away at the number of these little small bespoke systems, like in Asia and Europe, and there's more of them popping up in the US. But how do you, in a crowded space, how do you see your ability to differentiate yourself and stand out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's crazy because, in 2019, when we first started talking about this, a lot of the stuff we wanted to do was either like newly viable or not even viable, right? So like, even the digital access partnerships that we've worked on over the last couple of years, that sort of stuff, and managing key codes. I mean, we have to basically beat down the door at Allegiant and Yale and those places to get access to those APIs, right? So it was so new then that there was basically no one in the space, and it really got crowded fast. But I think what's really interesting is in terms of penetration of the market, I think we're still probably maybe 5-10% of operators are using guest tech, right? I think there's so much blank space there. We honestly don't come across competitors on most calls. I think most calls that we have is, DACK versus the status quo, right? Like whatever, you're doing today with offline logs and a binder in your unit. We're trying to persuade you to go digital. We're not trying to persuade you to switch from, a Aperto to DACK or something like that. We don't even come across each other really. And I've talked to their team too, and they don't really come across us as much either. It's just such a blank space, and it's such a big space that, it's been pretty great to grow into it.
No, it's funny you say that. Oh,
okay.
No, I was going to say just talking about the book, the flip book. So I stayed with a very large brand not too long ago, and I had booked through an OTA, didn't know that I was going to be in this brand, but they had me download an app, and I downloaded the app. And then it was just turned out most of it was like via text. So it was fine. But I did get to the unit, and I thought it was really funny because I had seen your app and I'd seen all the things that were sitting in it. And I was like, they had me download this app. I have the app, but I get to the room and everything is still in a book. There's still these, manila folders with things for like, here's your Wi-Fi and here's your instructions for the AC. And this is what happens if your power goes out. Like it was just really dumbfounding to me that like I downloaded this. They had been communicating with me, trying to upsell me on coming in early, staying an extra day, those kind of things. But that part of it, that all that paper stuff was still sitting there in the unit. And I think that's where what you guys have, like, just, it really just jumps in. It's like, especially with COVID, they wanted you to take all of that stuff out of units. Like, so there wasn't paper, and you needed to be able to have a digital way to get to them. And I think it's just so much easier to be on the fly, change and update and add, as opposed to going to every single unit and going, did I put the menus in there,
It's crazy because we couldn't even use menus for a while. I remember
everything was a QR code.
No, and it's really, I mean, we're really, I think with this industry is, really persuading people to go digital, and even like what we were talking about earlier with the notion on, guests don't want to download an app, and then you go to Verma and you downloaded the Verma app for the, the vacation rental conference, right?
It didn't work.
It's the same thing, and like you're guests and consumers download apps, every day, and they want everything to be digital. But the operators still have this inclination towards like print. Like we have some operators that request, QR code for every item in the property to link to a specific page, on DACK, right? Like, so they could link to like the web version. And I'm like, do you really want to print out, 40 QR codes and manage the links for those for each property across, 100 property portfolio? That sounds worse than going digital, right? So get the guests to download an app or click on the link, right? Get them engaged. It's super easy to manage from there, and you don't have to worry about the rest,
Yeah, it's a curve to get people out of what they're used to. And I know here in Myrtle Beach, as well as where Annie is, these are both in Panama City, very established vacation rental industries that, in condos, there's not only your materials that you have, but also the Chamber of Commerce normally has a visitor's guide, and that has to be updated every single year. And really it becomes a operational nightmare because it's to try, and when you're in multiple different properties, to try and streamline that process. If you've got to update 500 in the Chamber book, that's a hardcover book. So if you've got to update 500 condos with 500 books, they're heavy. You can't just have the maid service bring it up. I mean, like they don't have time. They don't have the resources to do that. So a lot of times you have, whenever you're doing unit evaluations, that stuff like that would get changed out. But still, it's hard to schedule and make sure that you're updating. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that there's several condos I've been in our area here that you find a visitor's guide that's from several years ago.
No, I believe it. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I mean, some of the processes, even beyond the guide, that operators are still doing that are offline and manual are just crazy to me. I mean, like we have operators that still reset, locks, manually. We had an operator, and I feel okay saying it now because they ended up selling, but they were in San Diego and they had their cleaning staff going up on ladders, changing the garage code manually after every stay.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, it's crazy.
Wow.
So we have to digitize, and like there's definitely stuff you can save time on. Really low hanging fruit there for sure.
I remember having to do those changes, Alex, in our market when I worked for a large company. We had almost 1,800 on rental, and every year the phone books. They would deliver the phone books. Yeah, exactly. They would deliver them on a pallet to this convention center that was at the hotel that was part of our company. And we would have to go in there, and it was like here's the stack and you're going to go with the housekeeping team and you're going to go into all these units. And then it was like, well, the HOA, we manage the HOA. So the HOA is like, oh, well, they want you to do all the units in a building, so you just spend like 2 days in a building just pulling that stuff out.
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean,
in and out.
it's just so amazing to me, like what technology, like again, operational efficiencies that you can put in place by having something like this.
Yeah. And at the same, okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I did stay though at an Airbnb. It really was an Airbnb though, because it was an individual owner that I booked directly through on Airbnb this summer in the Smoky Mountains. And they had a guest book in the unit, which that's also something that is kind of, it's debated, I mean, there's pros and cons. You definitely have to really carefully watch what people are writing in that and remove if there are bad pages. Yeah. But if you are an individual host that's taking care of that unit, stuff like that is possible to still do and to still make it really feel like it is a local experience. So I can't say that it's awful having books and having those things in the units, but it's at enterprise level, it's just really hard. There's no way we could have cleaning crews checking every visitor's book. And in the condos here, we used to have guest books too. So, and sometimes you'll find a condo that the owner has put one in themselves that we weren't made aware of. So,
right. Some people just like to have that feedback. They want to know, like, is somebody saying that they love my unit? I think they also want to do it so they can show like an owner down there, like, hi, these people really liked my unit better. My couch is prettier than yours.
It's a personal thing. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And that's the idea of it too, is if you free up your staff and you free up your team with automation and some tech, then you can focus on like the truly cool parts about, hospitality, right? Like you can come up with more engaging conversations you can have with them. Every call doesn't have to be about what the Wi-Fi code is or what, how to turn on the hot tub, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of frees up your team to do more memorable, engaging, personal things like that if you don't have to worry about the rest of that stuff, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love the guest book idea. It's probably been one of our most requested in-app features as well.
Really?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's kind of like reviews, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
And we just launched like a checkout flow where operators are starting to get every checkout survey and pre-check-in survey or post-check-in survey and stuff like that. So capturing the feedback is really important, but that guest book could be pretty cool on, sharing stories, sharing ideas, tips about the local area, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I love that.
Do you guys, do you offer like the ability to put videos in? And what just popped into mind, Alex, was thinking about Lauren Madewell at Antebellum's. Mm-hmm. She's done some really, really cute and engaging, like fun, like you're about to check in, here's the rules. And she's made light of it. And like, you're about to check out and here's what you need to do. And she dresses up in a bear costume and it's just absolutely hysterical, but it's just kitschy and it fits the market. So like that kind of thing, like I've just shared it with people. Like I encourage people like videos. So do you have the capability of embedding a video?
Yeah, you can embed videos pretty much in any content category. So the stadium sells all that, right? And then we actually have our own videos for stuff that people get stuck on, right? So one of the ones that we did is we have animations for how to use smart locks. And so you click need help in the app and then it'll show you how to use a yellow lock or a Schlage lock or an August lock.
Yeah.
What I realized is as we were getting support requests and stuff like that, is guests have never seen a yellow lock before.
Right.
If you've never seen it before, you don't know that you need to wake it up with 3 fingers. Like, or you can click on the yellow logo or press the keypad with 3 fingers to wake it up. And you don't know how to lock it. You have to click like the check mark to lock it when you leave. So we had this great team in South Africa come up with this set of animations. It walks you through it. It was like some actress from South Africa that did the voice, so it's kind of fun. It's got this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really and that's actually helped. Once we implemented those, I think our support requests went like down. I'd say probably by half. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Wow. And these locks are just so like and it's so funny because we had the same problem where it was like they sent us the instructions, but it just didn't flow right. So it was like, step 1, step 2, but it was like, we kept doing it, but if you waited too long, it would reset. And I think we stood outside the unit for like 15 minutes trying to figure the lock. And I'm like, I'm sure the people in the neighborhood were like, are they breaking in? Like, what is going on?
What's going on?
So I'm sure that's a very helpful tool to be able to have.
And we thought we had some tech issues and stuff like that, and then we were starting to run reports where we're like, no, we're getting like 100% accuracy on writing codes, so like it has to be user error, but you never want to tell someone that.
Right.
Sending out in the cold. So we try to figure out every possible way to get that guest in that unit through the user experience, right? That's been like a big goal for us, because no operator wants to get called at 1 a.m.
No,
right? Yeah, definitely not.
Especially if they're paying for technology, they want technology to solve some of those problems for them.
Yeah. That's
so, how many PMSs do you guys actually are you connected to at this point?
Yeah, it's we're up to 18 now.
Okay.
Which has been a feat in itself for sure. Our team built a really good architecture it makes it pretty easy to plug new APIs into it. But I think the harder part is getting in touch with people at the PMS companies and getting.
Yeah. Well, when you're a new kid on the block and they're getting hit up left and right to integrate, it's definitely a challenge, but you've got to have, it's like what comes first, the horse or the cart, and you've got to have enough clients that want to use you for the PMSs to let you in, but you can't get in unless you have the connections. So we see that happen a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's awesome now is, there's so many new ones out there that are completely cloud-based where you never even have to contact anyone at that company. The API was there. And I think Hospitable is one, like I mentioned, that's like, and Uplisting, both of those guys have completely open APIs. Awesome.
And things did not used to be like that. I mean, having been in the business for as long as Andy and I have, I mean, gosh, it's and really not even that long ago was that still severely an issue. And I know with some of our hotel partners that we've worked with that are condo resorts in the Myrtle Beach area and in Panama City, where Andy is, that's one of the biggest problems they have with their hotel tech is that they are very much closed off systems. And if you want to do an API into them, hold on, brace yourself, because it's going to be very expensive and it's going to take a really long time and it might not even work. So it's a big risk, but it's good to see. And we've talked to several of the CEOs of other PMS companies, and Margot and Marcus and Vered at Guesty, hosted all of them, and just had the same conversation that it's exciting, and I'm proud that we can say that our industry has taken a very different stance on that versus that the hotel older tech. And I think we've really progressed as an industry because of COVID, how much happened in that time. And, companies like DACK is just proof of that. So I
honestly don't think we could be a company in 2017. And the two things going for us were all the access providers and all the PMSs, opened up their APIs, right? And then the other thing was, the positive, spin on, the pandemic was, everyone went digital, and I knew we had a chance at getting people to engage with an app when, like, my parents started using Instacart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Things that definitely changed.
But I've heard some crazy stats too on the hotel space. I think it's still only like 20 or 30% cloud-based total. And it gets really crazy when there's so much crossover between hotel and vacation rental inventory that they now want to be able to list their properties on vacation rental channels. And I mean, that connectivity just is very minimal. I mean, if it exists, it's not anything close to how robust it is on the vacation rental side. I think we've got way more options for distribution just in general for our product. Yeah.
So thankful that we do, because I've seen the dark side. It's not fun. So what are you most excited about in the new year for DACK, and just even personally, like what are some goals or things that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, no, definitely. For us, I think we're really at this point now where everything in the roadmap is like never been done before, or at least I haven't seen it implemented. And so there's a lot of really cool stuff. Like we kind of have our core product set and everything works well from, check-in to checkout, like I said, but now we can kind of do new and exciting things, with itinerary, with additional guests, sharing upsell, stuff like that. And we don't have to worry anymore about, making sure that a key code gets written to a lock or making sure that we're stable with our guest integration, stuff like that. We've kind of worked through all those day-to-day hiccups, as a new company. So it should be a really exciting year, product-wise, and I'm really excited for that. Especially because that's the part of the company I love to do, right?
That's awesome.
And when you're a co-founder, I've also been like accountant, doing
a lot.
Jack of all trades, right?
Yeah. As we've grown the team,
the DACK of all trades.
Oh, there you go.
That's not bad.
That is good. Yeah.
The DACK of all trades, because you guys do a lot. That's how we started the podcast.
I'm going to steal that one. Yeah,
we just want a small fee. No.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Thomas, it has been wonderful to hear more about what you have going on, just to get to know you better. And we appreciate your support of the podcast. You and all your team and the company has been great to us, and we appreciate that very much. So thank you again for coming on today.
No, thanks so much for having me, guys. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the easiest way to contact you?
Yeah, they can do Thomas at DACK Inc. would be my email, or they can go to the website, dackinc.com, and use the book a demo form there. And I'll usually see any of those come through as well. And happy to hear from anybody. Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. If anybody wants to get in touch with Annie and I, you can go to alexandanniepodcast.com. And until next time, thank you for tuning in, everybody.